Selena finally shifts into her fae form, but Rowan's dominance doesn't sit well with her, and she leaves Mistward when he pushes her too far. Though she initially is grateful to have left, she finds herself hunted by skinwalkers and without proper weapons. Rowan swoops in to save her, but it's when Selena unleashes her wildfire that they finally gain the upper hand. It's the day Manon has been waiting for, but before she can claim Titus as her mount, she must face off with him in the pit. When she realizes that Titus only sees her as prey and realizes the bait beast wants to take Titus out with her, Manon joins forces with the bait beast to kill Titus, and she claims Abraxas as her own. Kale brings Adian up to speed about the source of the King of Adarlan's dark power, unaware that Dorian overhears and feels the sting of betrayal. Meanwhile, Rowan takes Selena on a field trip to investigate murders in nearby villages, and they burn the body of the latest victim before returning home. Field trip! Hey there, this is Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy, your book besties who take the novels you love seriously. This is Jack.
And I'm Amy, and we bring the tools of literary analysis to the women-written novels lighting up Book Talk, from romance to romantasy. Think of it as your favorite fandom books, treated with the same respect you'd give a classic in literature class, just with more humor and less homework.
Each season, we deep dive into one book, breaking down themes, imagery, and character motivations. Together, we combine our 13 years of literary academic training with our fandom love to help you see your favorite books in a whole new way. We also analyze the story through 2 different literary lenses, giving you more than one way to look at the text.
This week, we're discussing chapters 21 through 25 of Sarah J. Maas's third novel in the Throne of Glass series, Heir of Fire.
For a complete list of episodes and the chapter breakdowns, please be sure to check out our Instagram at the handle BookTok for Book Talk.
Before we dive in, let's talk about S.P.I.L.T. Spoilers, perspective and interpretation, language, and themes.
Spoilers! This episode covers Heir of Fire with full context from the first 3 books. That's Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, and Heir of Fire. If you haven't read those, this is your only spoiler warning. Anything beyond Heir of Fire and other SJM works will be saved for a Breadcrumbs and Broomsticks episode that airs this Thursday.
Perspective and interpretation. These are just our takes, our personal readings of the text. We don't speak for Sarah J. Maas, and we know you'll have your own interpretations too. We love hearing them, so share away.
Language. We use explicit language and we can't help ourselves, and nor will we try to better ourselves. So keep your headphones in and the kids away.
Themes. We will discuss tough topics like sex, violence, abuse, depression, self-harm, and death. We do our best to flag heavier moments where we can, but listener discretion is advised.
As always, let's keep the conversation going. Tag us, DM us, or use the submission form on our website. And if you want exclusive content and live streams, find us over at patreon.com/booktalkforbooktalk.
Can't get enough analysis? Make sure to check out the Subtext Society Journal, where we write think pieces discussing the romance and romantasy genre as a whole, the ongoing conversations in the bookish community, and insights into the publishing world. You can read our latest articles for free with no subscription required. But to receive new articles in the future, make sure to subscribe.
Want to be published? Head to the subtextsocietyjournal.substack.com to submit your article for a chance to be a paid contributor.
This week, we ask ourselves, why are none of the characters honest with themselves or with each other?
Themes we see in this section include submission and ownership, as well as unreliable narrators.
Take a sip.
Taking a sip. We start chapter 21, and we got to remember that in the previous chapter, Rowan bit Selena. And in last week's episode, we talked about it being very sexual, and not just sexual, almost like having sex for the first time sexual. I don't want to say losing virginity because I don't believe in that term. So having sex for the first time type of sexual. And I think it continues. Quote, Rowan grinned. There you are. Blood, her blood, was on his teeth, on his mouth and chin. And those dead eyes glowed as he spat her blood onto the floor. She probably tasted like sewer to him. I actually think that this goes even more into the virginal aspect. I'm about to read so far into this, and no one can stop me because they're on the other side of this listening. So I love this idea, right? That this is virginal blood and that she's bleeding for the first time and that her blood has now made her dirty and soiled because, it's almost like, I hate this. This isn't true, but like, women are a depreciating value, which is not true. Not true. I'm talking about patriarchal bullshit standards where, they want a virginal woman and then the second they have sex, they're like, no. But to me, this is kind of relating. Correlation.
I completely understand where you're coming from. And I love it and I hate it.
Mm-hmm.
So fuck you.
You're welcome.
So I saw this in a completely different way. This is the feminist versus the Marxist lens here, folks. Rowan is acknowledging Aelin for the first time because after biting her in her shifting, she is 100% her truest self. To me, this is the moment where the warrior is acknowledging someone else he deems capable of being on his level. It's just like she's now unlocked her potential, not that she's actually at his level.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever Rowan's thinking about how Selena tastes, what matters most is how Selena thinks she tastes to him, right? This is not Rowan saying, you taste like sewer. Selena detests herself. Therefore, she assumes she tastes like sewer because she knows or believes that Rowan doesn't like her. There's no proof that this is actually what Rowan thinks.
Yeah.
I just want to say he's just not a swallower. Some people are spitters.
I wasn't prepared for that. This is so much better than your ambulance joke.
I don't even remember my ambulance.
Somebody call the ambulance.
I don't even remember the context.
I just know there was a couple people who messaged going, it was funny.
They
That's
pity messaged.
woo, that was that caught me off guard. Continue. I loved it.
Selena is overcome by her first real exposure to her face senses in Wendelin. Quote, she took in the world with stunning clarity, smelled it and tasted it and breathed it like the finest wine. Gods, this place, this kingdom smelled divine. Let's recall for a moment, she's being exposed to a world full of magic for the first time. Not that she hasn't before having gone through a portal, but she's experiencing Wendelin with magic in her Fae form for the first time. And it's a fine wine because of that magic. It is like a drug to her senses. The connotation is that she could easily become drunk and overpowered by the magic around her, which we do see to kind of become true. Quote, but there it was, rising up, wildfire crackling in her veins, in her fingertips, the forest around them so much kindling, and then she shoved back, took the fear and used it like a battering ram inside herself, against the power, shoving it down. Selena doesn't trust herself with that much power. It definitely foreshadows what happens with the skinwalkers later. And, she just has to be very, very careful with the amount she exposes herself to magic.
Mm-hmm.
What I also wanted to point out is that the use of smell here establishes the status quo of what the world normally smells like, so that when she notices different, aka bad smells, we are aware of the change.
Yeah. So, when you're watching a movie, this isn't in my notes, so work with me here, Amy. When you're watching a movie, there's two ways you can watch it. One, you're enjoying the movie and you're not aware of it. And then there's other times where you're really aware you're watching a movie and it kind of takes you out of it because you're just aware that you're watching a movie.
Mm-hmm. That was like me watching Mulan.
Really? The cartoon?
The live action.
Oh, that makes sense. Okay. So I have to be so insulted. Okay, so I say that because I feel like in this episode in particular, I am going to be pointing out this is a book. This is a formula of a book. And the reason why I'm pointing it out is because not just I, but a number of listeners and various readers have said that Rowan has always kind of felt meh to them. And Rowan has always felt kind of meh to me as well. And through this analysis so far, I think it's because SJM is going through motions. And doesn't mean that her other books hasn't had these formulas, hasn't had these tropes, but like sometimes I'm reading it and I'm super aware of it, and other times I'm not aware. And this is a time that I am super aware. So you'll hear me mentioning this a few times. So at this point, Rowan's wind magic is able to suppress Selena's fire magic. And this is all happening for a very specific reason. Quote, Maeve had not given her an instructor with similar abilities. She'd instead sent someone with power capable of smothering her fire, someone who wouldn't mind doing it should she become a threat. So this is SJM's very easy way of saying, look, they're equal.
Mm.
His power can suppress her fire, and she's super powerful. And it's just a very quick, easy, non-substantial way to kind of have a band-aid and say, behold, they're equal. And I think it's also a very quick cover-up way to show that, look, they're equal. Like, it's okay that he punched her. I know I keep bringing up that punch, but like, there's so many other instances, right? That like the way he's training her or other things. So I always kind of get hooked on that. And there's going to be a couple more instances like this. Actually, I'm going to continue going on. I just saw my next note. Because then there's even these more little tropes that I feel like are just tropes without purpose. Rowan asks her if Kale knows. And Selena says, quote, he knows everything. His eyes flickered. With what emotion, she couldn't tell. It's such an easy out to be like, there's an emotion. I can't tell you what it is. But like when you have that in a book, it normally implies jealousy, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
9 out of 10 times when a main male, when his eyes flicker with an emotion after something like that, it's like some kind of possession, some kind of jealousy. Well, we know Rowan does not like her. He's about to say something extremely horrible to her. This is not jealousy. I would hope and would like to know, what was SJM trying to do? What is that emotion that's flickering? And maybe people can have some really good ideas here. Maybe it's someone saying, oh, it's him judging her or him not judging her or him having respect for her. But I really feel like when you say flickered with an emotion, you just don't know what. It could be such an out, a
Mm-hmm.
cop out, or it could give that moment that little kick. And I feel like this one was a cop out. Even when Rowan struggles with the whole, biting other men's women thing, quote, you don't bite the women of other males, it's laying romantic groundwork, which is like this one I'll actually say is fine. Like this is one line that, I think is cool with it. But it's also an understanding of ownership of women and some kind of honor that I just want to emphasize that Rowan understands ownership and honor.
There is a lot of this romantic groundwork that's going to be laid throughout this episode. And I'm going to bring it up a lot because, like Jack said earlier, definitely this part definitely comes across as SJM going through the motions of what she should do to help us feel the chemistry between these two. I actually am going to argue that Rowan is, in fact, jealous. I think there are moments where he tries not to be curious, but Selena can tell he's curious. And I think what it is he's reluctantly attracted to her.
You think he's attracted to her this early?
So ultimately, spoiler, they're mates.
Yeah, yeah.
I was going to save this for the breadcrumbs and
And you can
broomsticks.
save it. We can save it.
No, because I think it's relevant.
Okay.
Right after biting Aelin, tasting her blood, she's fully 100% herself. He says, there you are.
It's very Reese.
It's very recent favor coded. This
Yeah.
came out 8 months before ACOTAR. So ACOTAR was probably already being drafted.
Somebody did some research.
I did. Sorry. ACOTAR came out 8 months after this, but
There was overlap.
there was definitely going to be overlap. And so to me, it comes across as mate coded.
Yeah.
And both of them are going to continue to have moments this episode, again, that are supposed to be building romantic tension or at least physical tension.
Mm-hmm.
That in any other book, I'd say, woo, tension. But in this book, I'm like, bleh, tension. So
No, I think I had caught the like it's so Farah and Reese coded. However, I did not go beyond. That seems similar in my head, so I'm happy you did.
all that to say, I think there's reluctant attraction between the two of them, and I will continue to make my case throughout this episode.
God, remember when SJM used to put out books?
Yeah.
Regularly. I'm happy she's happy.
Me too.
Thrilled. Selena has her aversion of how things went down with Kale, which, this comes into one of our themes as an unreliable narrator. She says, quote, "We're not together, not anymore. I let him go before I came here." She should take the damn thing off. She's talking about the ring. But she knew she wouldn't, if only because the near constant agony felt deserved. Because he's safer if he's as repulsed by me as you are. I just love a little retelling of history of how things went down. And rather than being annoyed or being like, well, that's literally not how that happened, I'm going to choose to believe it's the unreliable narrator. It's her interpretation of things. I don't even think it's I think like her interpretation of how it all happened has evolved even within this book
Mhm.
of how she was originally talking about it versus now. So just a little call out.
Yeah. Yeah. I also think she's being an 18, 19-year-old girl. And I'm going to say girl for a reason
Yeah.
because, again, I think she's reluctantly attracted to this guy who hates her. She does hate herself on some level, but I also, because I feel like I do this too, like, you must be so disgusted by me, waiting for them to say no. I'm not. Because she does it a lot in this episode. Does it a lot
You do that?
when I was a teenager.
Oh, I'm trying to remember all the times you're like, "I feel so gross." I'm like, "Yeah."
No, but, like, when you say something hoping your crush will say, "No, I don't think that."
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what this feels like.
I remember my mom did something to me like that when I was little, where I can't remember what it was, but I did something like that, and my mom, like, looked me in the eye and knew what I was doing, and she goes, "Yeah, you are." And I was like, "What?" And then she was just like, "Don't ask something you don't wanna hear the answer to." And I was like, "Damn, I'm 7." Uh I will say, though, this is more of a critique of the book, which shocker, I'm doing that? No, not me, not this book. I get very frustrated with this book and this series and in other series where you have these young women. She's just a 19-year-old girl. You don't get to have a 19-year-old girl and have her be mature enough to be with a 200-year-old man.
Yep.
You don't get to have both.
I agree.
So, Rowan, though, still questionable, right? So you have all these like romantic moments, and it's like, oh my God, do I want to bite you or fuck you? I can't tell. And also being like, oh, I can't bite another man's woman. Like the second he finds out that she is not owned by a man, we get this quote: "Why don't I give you the lashing you deserved?" He looked so dead set on it that she blinked. Okay, like I said, now that he knows that she's not owned by a man, he is threatening to physically whip her. And it's a fucking hell of a threat. Like, even this threat alone, it's serious enough that Selena notes that it's serious. You know what I mean? It's not like "Oh, I'm going to whip you. Like, I'm going to give you a lashing, like you casually say. This is more than that."
I'm trying really hard to not laugh because in my head, I'm like, oh, but it could be a tongue lashing to her,
To her what, Amy?
to
To her
her
what?
cunt.
Wow.
I am on something.
Ladies and the 4 gentlemen who listen. I think we can list them all off by name on one hand now.
Patrick and James.
There's a Tyler.
Not our editor, Tyler?
No, there's another one.
Okay. Okay. I don't know who number 4 is.
I can't remember. Shit. Sorry, guys. That was not a
Okay.
good look.
So let's talk about. It's okay. She doesn't remember anybody's name. It's not just you.
So true.
What's important here is when Selena lashes back at Rowan about threatening to whip her, it's because it is a clear line. She doesn't care if he punches her, fights her like a warrior. She refuses to be treated like a slave because that is exactly how she was punished and humiliated as a slave, was by being whipped. Rowan doesn't get it now, but he will put the pieces together later when he sees her back and she tells him about Endovier. And this is all just set up to make him feel like shit, which I look forward to.
We need more men feeling like shit. All right, continue.
But not the people who listen to us.
No, not them. Unless their partners think they should. But No, no, they're great. But if you piss them off, though, people give Selena shit on what she said about like the Fae, I understand why the king does what he does. And they're like, oh my God, that's genocide. Okay. However, Rowan says this, and a bunch of listeners have cited this moment. Quote, Rowan paused his stalking. You're worthless. Tell me something I don't know. He went on. You would probably have been more useful to the world if you'd actually died 10 years ago. He told her that he wishes that she was dead, that she would have been better off dead.
At 8 years old.
At 8 years old. That as a child, as an 8-year-old child, should have died. I would like to emphasize how harmful of a statement this is. So, I'm going to let that sit there, okay? Genocide, bad. Telling someone that they should have died when they were 8, also really bad.
Yet, some people forget that this happens.
Some people forget.
I also really just don't understand the logic, because I kind of compare this to later when Ren and Murtaugh are talking to Adian in chapter probably 24.
Yeah.
And they're talking about Aylin's core, and they're like, well, some people just don't understand why she's taken so long. And I'm like,
I
she's
know.
18, 19?
We're going to talk about it at that point, too, because they're like, well, she's been a woman for a while now. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Are we counting that for like she got her first period?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, my first period. I can really strategize war now.
Well, and like, also, they don't know where the fuck she is or who the fuck she is. What if she's been in Endovier since the age of 8?
Yes.
Like,
no,
the
they're
fuck?
just sitting there being pissed off, being like, wow, Aylin's going to have to really prove to me why she didn't step up at 16.
They're just sociopaths. That's just drives me nuts.
I know. Question.
Mm.
I haven't heard a single woman say something like that about her yet, right? Even Maeve doesn't say anything about like, why haven't you stepped up?
I don't think so.
All right. So far at this point, this feels like a man problem.
It's a great point.
All right. Don't worry. I'm just clocking it.
Selena, at this point, has finally decided she's had enough, and I think that is fair. So she goes to her room, Rowan doesn't stop her, and, quote, it took all of a minute to pack as she hadn't even unloaded her satchel and had no weapons left. Let's just pause to remind ourselves that Selena has no weapons, and she can't really control her shifting or her own magic, so she's leaving weaponless. She knows there are dangerous things out there. She's been told there are dangerous things out there. So to what extent is she asking for trouble by leaving? Is the potential of death better than sticking around with Rowan? That's how toxic it is right now.
And there's a certain level, and I do appreciate this moment in writing with SJM, like the level of like irony that's put inside of this, of her exiting, because she even says, quote, if she kept going like this, she'd have nothing left inside to fight with. She's literally left the things to fight. Like, she has nothing left inside her to fight, but she's also left the weapons there to fight. So she has nothing to fight inside and outside.
Yep.
Other than her magic.
Which she's not reliable.
But will use soon.
So Rowan lets Selena pack up, but intercepts her while she's leaving, because that's logical. And this is the point where Selena finally admits that Nehemia is dead and that Selena's using her worthless life to keep up the blood oath that she's made with Nehemia about saving Ilwe. Okay, fine. What I'm focused on is the fact that as he's chasing her down, Selena observes, quote, he kept up easily, his long, heavily muscled legs devouring the mossy ground. I'm sorry, Selena is way too aware of his body.
Heavily muscled legs devouring mossy ground. I don't want to ever think of muscle legs devouring moss.
The point is that it's just like hyper aware of his body, a little bit sexual.
Oh, absolutely.
And you're supposed to be mad. Just be mad.
Rawr.
While Selena leaves Mistward, having shaken off Rowan finally, she starts heading towards the ocean, trying to figure out where to go next, hopefully find a way home. And she tries to make up for her lack of weapons. Quote, she made weapons as she went, finding a sharp stone to whittle down branches into rudimentary spears, the longer one she used as a walking stick, and though they were little more than stakes, she told herself the two short ones were daggers. Better than nothing. Rudimentary. Hardly fit to fight supernatural beings, and we can see her actively lying to herself, folks. She told herself the short ones were daggers. She is an unreliable narrator. She knows she's lying to herself.
Yep.
Once she sets up the camp by the cliff for the evening, she tries to convince herself, again lying, that she, quote, almost felt like herself again with her makeshift weapons. She'd made a smart choice to leave. Do what needs to be done, Elena had told her. Well, she needed to leave before Rowan shredded her into so many pieces that she would never stand a chance of putting herself back together. This was really smart. It was really smart to leave shelter and food. Also, she feels like herself because she has some sharp sticks. This is not Adderlin's greatest assassin.
She has some sharp sticks.
That's all she's got.
No, I love it. She's got some sharp sticks, guys. This is really feels like home in there.
The point is, she's a shell of a person. She just cannot acknowledge how desperate she is, how weak she is, and how much she really just doesn't want to live.
Yeah.
Take a sip.
Uh-huh. We're now in chapter 22, and Selena takes off. She's camping in the forest. The lights are on, and the monsters are home.
Now, the fire is what has attracted the skinwalkers, and she realizes her error because of the smell. We just set up things in the previous chapter because they smelled good in her fae form, so we're now seeing the opposite. Quote, a growing reek was slithering in from the forest beyond, like leather and carrion, different from what she'd whiffed at the barrows, older and earthier and hungrier. Everything is hungry, and Selena is always the snack of choice. It's only now that Selena realizes that her wallowing all this time is what has set her up for failure. Quote, she had been too dazed to ask or care, but now that carelessness, that wallowing was going to get her killed. Skinned. I bring this up because when we see Selena back at Mistward later, she's going to try and be more friendly to folks. And I think this is one of the reasons why she realizes that she can't afford to wallow. She can't afford to not make relationships. Like, she's lucky Rowan had the decency to come out and find her. And maybe if she'd forged more relationships before, more people would care. Just saying.
Also, I know SJM gets shit for saying watery bowels a lot, but she doesn't get enough shit for saying carrion all the time.
Carrion's fine.
No, it's no. She says it so much.
She does.
So much.
But it's a good word.
She learned a big word and never left it alone.
Sure.
She'll never let us interview her. Rowan is there to save the day, though. And he's there to literally bring new life to Selena with the breath of life. Quote, her lungs open, full of cool, soothing air, and she wondered if Rowan was helping with that too. He is helping her like you would a newborn babe, like breathing life into them. So he like took her virginity and now he's breathing into her. That's what I'm reading.
Because of all the sexual undertones of everything I'm reading into this, I'm like, really, a newborn? Why not like You're the Wind Beneath My Wings or
Because
Evanescence, Bring Me to Life or something?
No, it's mouth to mouth.
Resuscitation.
Yeah.
Okay. That makes more sense.
Yes.
So the reason why I think everything has sexual undertones is we have a moment where Selena cannot be honest that she's feeling a little bit attracted despite the life or death situation she finds herself in. Quote, she kept her panting quiet, but breathing didn't come any easier when Rowan gripped her by the shoulders and put his mouth to her ear.
Oof. Oof.
That's flirty shit.
Like, you don't put your mouth to other places. You don't do it to an eyebrow or
But,
a
like,
nostril. I'm just saying that ear's a sexy-ass place.
Well, and the fact that she's having a hard time breathing because he's putting his mouth next to her ear. That's what it's saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we're supposed to get the hint that despite the danger, Selena is physically bothered in a good way by Rowan's nearness. Okay. Rowan also uses her real name as a motivator. Quote, shift, Aelin. Aelin, it was not a test, not some elaborate trick. We are going to have to run in a moment. What form you take when we do will determine our fates. So breathe and shift. I think SJM's trying to show that like Rowan is being earnest by calling Selena Aelin because that's her true name.
It doesn't do anything for you. It's
It
a use of
doesn't,
title.
but like between that and the like, oh, I can't breathe because he's so close to me. And I just don't feel it.
You know what? That's fair. I'm not here to defend this. It's like this is
Again, this is SJM's doing the thing.
yeah.
I don't feel the thing.
I mean, it's the same way that of course he's going to come and save her. He just told her that he thinks that she should have died 10 years ago. Do you know what I mean? Like, and formulaically, like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, like this is Belle and Beauty and the Beast. Belle
Yep.
went to go run away and the Beast went after her and, saves her. Like, it's a very common thing that's used.
Yep. 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 When Selena does shift, the smell hits her like a ton of bricks. Quote, if only because the moment her face senses snapped into place, she had to shove a hand against her mouth to keep from retching. Oh, gods, the festering smell of them, worse than any corpse she'd ever dealt with. Again, we're juxtapositioning the first time she shifted earlier in that day when things smelled good to now, which emphasizes that they're just not in a good situation. I do have to hand it to SJM though. I do find the skinwalkers a little creepy. It
Oh,
really
yeah.
makes me think of Slender Man. If anybody knows that video game that they turned into a really bad movie. I'm going to have to show you some scary videos later.
No, I know what you're talking about. There was the murder that was based off of that. Remember the 13-year-old girl, attempted murder. The two 13-year-old girls tried to kill their other 13-year-old friend because they said Slender Man made them do it.
Oh, God, I completely blanked that.
I think about it often.
Apparently. I just remember watching my brothers and sisters play it, and I just couldn't keep.
Well, it started off as a creepy pasta that then erupted into a video game that then turned into a movie. But it started off with just, I think it was a woman who photoshopped a photo and then put a story underneath it. And then that itself blew up to everything.
It is terrifying. So,
Yeah.
anyway,
Yeah.
this is the creepiest part of them, I think. As they're running, they say, you think if we get wet, we'll lose our form? I think that's how
I hate this.
I have worn the skins of fishes when mortals were scarce, female. No?
I don't like that.
Anyway, I really appreciate this as a plot device. I think it's extra motivation to make sure Selena uses her fire and uses it to the greatest extent, which is exactly what needs to happen right now.
Yeah. Rowan saves her though, right? He's like, hey, you need to pull your shit together. And she goes, oh my God, you're right. So she transforms. And as they're running, formulaically, this is what's going to happen next is that she saves both of them because, again, formulaically, he says something, she runs off, he saves her, she's going to save him and save both of them, but like very power revealing. Again, formulaic. And you have this moment, which I do think when her power comes out is pretty cool. Quote, surprise, she hissed. The world erupted in blue wildfire. Like I was saying, narratively, this has to happen. He has to save her. It's trying to fight for his tight storyline because, again, like they don't even get the full book to themselves. They're sharing it with two other storylines, which is why these things feel rushed to me.
Yeah. And I understand, and I think you said this too at one point. This is why some people don't like multi POV
Yeah,
because so much has to happen
I can do
off
dual
screen.
POV, maybe a third one, but this is three. I mean, no, this is even more. You have Aelin,
Story
Manon, Dorian, Kale, Adian, Sorsha.
and Sorsha, yeah. It's a lot.
It's too much.
And it's 3 different storylines rather than like 3 point of views on one storyline.
Or different storylines.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. 1, 2, 5.
What?
Aelin and Rowan, Manon's storyline, Dorian and Sorsha's storyline, Kale's storyline, and then Adian's storyline that he's doing behind the scenes.
True. I was counting Kale and Adian as one, but you're
That's
right.
fair. 1.5.
Once Selena and Rowan are safely on the other side of the river, Selena thinks of her power. Quote, "It was a weapon, her power, a different sort of weapon than blades or arrows or her hands. A curse." Selena used to take pride in her body being a weapon and the weapons that she owned, but her power is not one of them. Not only is she worthless, not only is her life worthless, her power makes her cursed. There's lots of layers of her self hatred that we're peeling back, and it continues to show how responsible she feels for other people's deaths, because ultimately that's what it comes down to.
Obviously, after you keep saving each other's lives, there's going to be a bond that inevitably happens. And I am trying to get a better analysis on Rowan so that I can either defend him or be more confused. Now, Rowan tells Selena about the time that he was captured and tortured without any restraint. He just casually starts opening because she looks at his wounds and he was like, "Oh yeah, there was the time that I was captured and then I was tortured for days and then my friend came and it's giving Crunk from Emperor's New Groove. Squeak, 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 squeaker, squeakers. You know what I mean? It's like all of a sudden he starts opening up to her and telling her about his own personal torture because the next moment has to be an emotional connection. He realizes that Selena has some kind of more intimate knowledge in this type of torture, and he says, quote, "Was it you?" Rowan said quietly, but not gently, "Or someone else?" "I was too late. He didn't survive." It's meant to be a mutual exchange of information, of vulnerability, but I ask you, was it too easy for Rowan to share? I ask this because I need to keep asking, why is it that people feel like he's an underdeveloped character? And personally, I feel like this moment, in moments like these, shows that for me.
Yeah, I agree. I sit here and I'm fascinated that this was written so closely together with A Court of Thorns and Roses, because A Court of Thorns and Roses is a fucking masterpiece.
Yeah.
And I think maybe ultimately she stayed too true to the original that she wrote as a teenager, maybe? Question mark? I don't know.
I wonder if she's breaking away too much from.
Mm,
I feel like she's trying to hit the tropes so hard in this one.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. She does well in Mist and Fury. That she does not do well here is that quid pro quo aspect. Like, at
Mhm.
least Reese calls it for what it is. I'll share some information if you share some information.
Yeah.
This feels out of character for Rowan. Maybe he feels like he owes her. Maybe because he heard the Skinwalkers talking about flaying Selena, and knowing that that was the torture they imagined for her, he's showing empathy by saying, "Yeah, that happened to me once." I don't know. I don't know. I can't explain it.
At the end of the chapter, there's even more bonding in the most sweet romantic way. Quote, "He tossed her his cloak, dry and warm. Then he dropped his jacket in her lap too." This is very significant for SJM because not only is it like, oh my God, they're bonding, but Rowan is literally giving Selena the clothes off his back because SJM is trying to prove that he's a good guy. See, this man who punched her and told her that she should have died when she was a child can't be a bad guy.
He gave her his
Oh my
clothes.
God, you guys. Does that mean nothing to you? We're being facetious.
We're not being condescending, I swear. We're just punchy. I
It's
haven't
a
had a lot of sleep.
Amy hasn't had a lot of sleep, or I mean, it's currently October 26th. Amy hasn't had a lot of sleep. We both have like big days coming up for Steamy Lit Con. I have exciting plans for this evening. It's
We're feeling ourselves, I guess.
boy, am I. All
Take a
right.
sip.
We're in chapter 23 and we're back with Manon. And I love how her story mirrors Selena. And that's the same thing I say every fucking episode because it is the same thing that happens. And I actually really like it. Quote, "For the past week, not much had changed for Manon and the Blackbeaks. They still flew daily to master the wyverns and still managed to avoid outright war in the mess hall twice a day." This to me is perfectly mirroring the opposite of what Selena is going through, right? She is working every day. Nothing's changed. Very similar to Manon, except Manon is doing well and isn't leaving.
Mhm. I just have to say, I feel like you can tell SJM loved writing about Manon,
Yeah. Yes.
and it Manon saves this book because SJM loved writing about Manon,
Yes.
and I don't believe that SJM enjoyed the rest of this book.
I completely agree.
Maybe Dorian and Sorsha,
Yep.
but the rest of it, she was just like, "I need to fucking get through this."
We are making so many guesses, and I would love to find out one day.
I would love to understand her brain. Manon continues to reject the humanity within her. So Jack is going to talk about how she's an unreliable narrator. I just wanted to read some of these quotes because I think they're hilarious. Quote, wanted was a mortal word. Titus was hers, and if it came down to it, she'd disembowel any witch who challenged her. She'd sharpened her nails this morning in anticipation of it. All of the 13 had. Manon does not accept anything other than what she believes belongs to her. She is the embodiment of power and accepts nothing less. The act of sharpening her nails, I just imagine her going
Ew, no.
with like a knife grinder, but it's for her nails.
What? Fuck, stop it. I barely can handle when they do my nails.
It reminds us that she is a weapon, and again emphasizes that she is the embodiment of power.
Mm-hmm.
It's also important setup given that she's about to be put in a very vulnerable situation. It helps us believe that she can get out of that pit when she's pushed in, and why Abraxos's fighting spirit calls to her because she is ultimately a fighter. SJM lays it on very thick to try and make sure we are surprised by the turn of events at the end of the chapter. Quote, the bait beast was already chained to the blood-stained wall, a broken, scarred wyvern, half the size of the bull's, his wings tucked in tight. From the platform, she could see that the venomous spikes in his tail had been sawn off to keep him from defending himself against the invaluable mounts. The bait beast lowered its head as the gate groaned open and the first wyvern was paraded. This bait beast, who ends up being Abraxos, is visually pathetic compared to the other wyverns, and so much unlike what the witches actually want. So, for example, when Petra's female wyvern comes in, even Manon thinks of her as, quote, wild, unpredictable, lethal, magnificent. There's more to be said about Titus. We'll get to that in a moment. After Petra gets her wyvern, she walks up to Manon, and there's this interesting moment of connection. It's small, but it is set up for later, even though Manon doesn't see it for what it is. Quote, the blue blood air lifted her chin. I think Titus would make a good mount for Manon. A line in the sand, Manon thought. What had the blue blood matron told Petra about her? What schemes was she hatching? Manon can't even see that maybe this is an olive branch. Maybe she wants to be friends. Maybe they want to braid each other's hair. Come on. I'm working myself up to practice pitching later. That's what's happening.
I'm imagining if anyone came up to you like that and was nice, you'd come over to me so fast and be like, I don't know what the hell she wants. It's just funny. You're like, maybe they want to braid each other's hair. You would just be like, no, this person came up to me and was super nice. And the worst part is,
Obviously want something from me.
I'd be right there next to you and be like, that bitch.
It's not that. I'd just be like, I don't trust her.
And I'd be like, and I don't trust her. She's dead to me too.
we sound like mean girls.
Women supporting women. No, we actually do support women. The thing is, we don't get approached by people. And so it's easy for us to say that. And here's the other funny thing is, I make friends so quickly and with random people. I have several friends that I made this year that I'm just like, hi.
I'm here at this party all by myself. Let's talk.
Yeah. Wait, I'm that person.
You are. How else did we become friends?
I'm the blue blood. Oh my God. Wow. Hey, thank you, Manon.
I am Manon.
For taking a chance on me.
Your Petra.
Thank God you didn't say to your Abraxas.
That's fair.
If we didn't have, because we're going to Steamy Lit and there's a costume contest, if we had thought about it, we should have been a Manon and Abraxas. But I just would have looked like Toothless from
Oh,
How to
that
Train
would
Your
be
Dragon.
cute.
I know. I would have just worn a Toothless costume.
Yeah, there you go. All right, before Manon gets pushed into the pit, she continues to be obsessed with Titus. Quote, Titus kept at it. He moved with the fluid grace of untamed savagery. Another quote, Titus just kept pacing in front of the bait beast, contemplating how he would strike, not out of strategy. No, he wanted to savor it, to taunt. A shiver of delight went down Manon's spine. Riding a beast like Titus, ripping apart her enemies with him. She's
Sexy.
really, really into
She is
it.
getting off on that.
Yes, she is.
What I love about the witches is just how brutal the women are.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, so Manon gets shoved in and, quote, she might have seen her grandmother give the order that no one was to jump into the pit. And for the last several books, you've had the king of Hybern be the main big bad. And there, he's kind of been the scariest thing that we've seen, just in his cruelty. And I know we've had some other scary things, but like we know that the king's been the brains behind the operation. We haven't seen him at all,
Yep.
right?
Yeah.
Instead, we have this very brutal matriarch that I'm really into. And I'm not saying that they're worse than the king, because obviously, the king has committed genocide. But women in men's fields. And that's what I support.
Yeah, the matriarch is such a good villain
Yeah.
because on one hand, she thinks she's looking out for the best of her clan
Mm-hmm.
and for, leading them to a better life, but she's a bitch. Ruthless.
I mean,
Ruthless
she is a product of the time,
of her people.
of her people.
The tables turn when Titus sees Manon as prey. Apparently, Manon doesn't like being thought of as prey. Even though she liked the idea that Titus was a beast who hadn't been broken yet and that she would be the one to break him, she doesn't like it that her life is now on the line. This is when she sees the fighting spirit in Abraxos, who has been treated like prey and who also does not view her as prey. Quote, if he wasn't looking dead at her, looking at her like she was not prey. Titus growled a territorial warning at the bait beast again. Instead, the bait beast, small as he was gazing at her with something like rage and determination. Emotion, she might have called it. Hunger, but not for her. No, she realized as the beast lifted its black gaze to Titus, letting out a low snarl in response. Not submissive in the least, that sound. A threat, a promise. The bait beast wanted a shot at Titus. Allies, if only for this moment.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love Manon because I think she's an enjoyable, unreliable narrator. I think that a lot of times we get too hard on the female characters who are unreliable, but Manon, her unreliability is just chef's kiss, especially when she's talking about herself. Quote, she had been born without sympathy or mercy or kindness. She didn't care which one of them lived or died, so long as she escaped. But that current was still flowing, flowing forward towards the fight, not away from it. She owed the bait beast a life debt. We just went like it
180.
180 in 2 or 3 sentences. Like it went, I don't care about anyone. I was born without sympathy. I
But
was
fate.
born. I know. It's like, okay, babe. You, the sad little wyvern won your heart.
Yeah. Yeah. What Manon realizes, I mean, I don't even think she actually realizes it, but what readers should realize is that working with Abraxos to save their lives from Titus shows the value of partnership, that maybe you can't do everything on your own. And it's the same kind of partnership that Manon has with the 13 and is what makes them unstoppable. Manon, I think, just didn't realize, oh, maybe an animal could have that connection with me as well. And again, she can't admit it to herself in the slightest. Quote, Manon held her ground. It was impossible. Impossible. Titus was twice his size, twice his weight, and had years of training. The bait beast had trounced him, not because he was bigger or stronger, but because he wanted it more. Titus had been a brute and a killer. Yet this wyvern before her, he was a warrior. She is so proud of him.
I know. That's my baby boy.
Yeah.
That's my baby. This chapter, specifically this connection, is what makes this book. Manon makes this book, but Manon doesn't make this book without Abraxas.
Mhm.
And the storyline is beautiful because it's a storyline of ownership, but more in a spiritual way. Quote, "You're mine," Manon said to him. The wyvern blinked at her, Titus's blood still dripping from his cracked and broken teeth, and Manon had the feeling that he had come to the same decision. Perhaps he had known it long before tonight. It gives me chills. Like, whenever I read it, it's always this wonderful moment of, like that this is truly fate and destiny.
Mhm.
I want to say, when I was reading the part where I was over at your place, Amy, last night when I was doing some of these notes, and I was reading the part where Titus and Abraxas were fighting, and that's when your cat started fighting, and it was very funny to me. I was like, "Ooh, which one's Titus? Which one's Abraxas?" You know which one's Titus and which one's Abraxas. Which
I
one?
do. Soba is Titus.
Wrong.
No,
Yeah.
Dahlia is Abraxas. She's smaller and fights harder.
She has not fought. She runs.
No, oh, you didn't see them today. He runs up to her and she goes pow 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 on his forehead.
So before we wind up this chapter, Astrid is whipped as punishment for not protecting Manon, and Manon wants to be the one to do the whipping because it's meant to help her. Quote, Manon had asked to be the one to dispense the whipping. That's because Miss No Kind Heart here doesn't want Astrid to be hurt completely. But stone cold bitch.
Yeah. I misread your notes. I thought you were being like, she was trying to prove that she had no heart. I was like, oh, okay, no.
No. It's also
You,
another moment of mirroring, though, for me, too, where
yeah.
Aelin doesn't want to be whipped and Manon is asking to do the whipping.
Mm-hmm. Because she'll be nicer than the matron.
Yeah.
Yep. Take a sip.
Okay, so now we're in chapter 24, and now let's switch another point of view, and we're with Kale, and him and Adian go on a bro date, and around this point, I start getting really tired when I was writing my notes. Could you tell? I was, like, about to fall asleep, and I just was typing away. Anyway, Kale tells Adian about Selena in the most natural place ever, and that is the catacombs. Quote, even though Kale wore the eye of Elena at his throat, the knocker remained frozen. It's interesting because I like that the eye of Elena is meant to be for his protection, but the way that he describes it at his throat, that's normally what you would describe as a knife to a throat. And it's not just jewelry, right? It's a key, and it's not getting Kale in the same way that it did Selena. Like, and there's a little bit of I don't know, I feel like a little bit of bitterness in there. Like, door knocker didn't talk for me. And that's because it's not fashion, sweetheart. It's also a weapon and identity. Turns out Dorian is listening to this conversation. It's funny because you guys don't know it, but there was a whole ass conversation that happened between what I just said and here, and it's very funny, and you'll never know, but our editor knows, and I hope she enjoyed, or I'm sorry that you heard what you heard. Anyway, so while all this is going down, Dorian happens to be listening to all of this, in a move that only slightly makes sense why he is there, because it wasn't said, at least I can remember, Dorian's been spending a lot of time in the catacombs trying to count the days, or he had been.
He had been. He moved his books from Selena's room into the catacombs.
Okay. All right.
I think that's already happened.
Okay. I would have liked one more line that, like, he's been spending time in the catacombs, but
Yeah, like as a little refresher.
yeah, like, beggars can't be choosers, though. Quote, they had lied to him, too. They had decided he wasn't to be trusted. Selena and Kale, they decided against him. Kale had known who and what Selena truly was. All right, so he takes it personally, and I'm not surprised by this. Like, this isn't me being like, Dorian, you got to suck it up. Like, how dare you, little bitch boy? But I think this is a really good example of, showing the age of the characters because this is a very young person response.
Mm-hmm.
It's not hearing the nuance behind it. It's being hurt that, like, he's like, you didn't know if I'd go to my dad about this? Like, and Kale says, like, I don't know what you would do. Like, he doesn't know, and he's just trying to protect him. So I like this because it just plays into more about this idea that Dorian can't protect anyone, including
Mm-hmm.
himself.
Mm-hmm. Baby boy, it's so true though.
Yeah.
What I really like about this scene is that the threat of Dorian's magic is pervasive for like pages before he decides he's not going to lose his shit. But you can tell he's getting mad because of what's happening in the environment. So I'm going to read a few quotes that happen throughout the conversation. Quote, "The words were barely more than a strangled whisper as the temperature plummeted. Ice coated his teeth, his tongue. The captain's breath clouded in front of him. Dorian could see the captain wincing, not at the general's words, but at the cold. Adian smirked at Dorian, and ice coated the stairwell. Kale's lips went blue from the cold, like, wow, okay, Sarah, that's a lot. But it's a threat. It's a threat always there, showing that Dorian is not stable and therefore should be treated with kid gloves. I also like the fact that for at least half the conversation, Dorian has reduced Kale and Adian to the captain and the
Mhm.
general in his
Mhm.
point of view because he's so mad at them. What ultimately stops Dorian from ending their lives is because of how much empathy he ultimately feels for Aelin Galathinius. Quote,
Yeah.
Aelin Galathinius had spent a year in that labor camp. A queen of their continent had been a slave and would bear the scars of it forever. Perhaps that entitled her and Adian and even Kale, who loved her, to conspire to deceive and betray his father. At the end of the day, Dorian hates his father, right? And he's pissed that he's been either lied to or had information withheld from him. But because he cares for Selena, because he has empathy for Aelin Galathinius, he's able to see it for what it is.
It's kind of, I mean, he doesn't say it this way, but I think it's also a realization that it's not so much that they don't trust him, it's that he doesn't bring anything to the table.
Mm,
It's Adian brings something to the table, Selena, Kale, obviously. And if Dorian actually brought value to this planning, they would have brought him in.
that's a good point.
Dorian, though, a total shocker of a move, doesn't handle any of this well. Quote, he ripped his cold magic from the air and turned it inward, wrapping it around his heart. It's not a phase, Mom. Look, if you want big boy secrets, you have to be willing to have a big boy brain.
He's
I know. This goes to everyone out there. Hey guys, let's have a real talk moment right now. I hate to be the one to tell you, but if you want to be part of very intense conversations, it doesn't mean you don't have the emotions or the reactions. You get to have them. You get to have your feelings, but you have to be mature about it to a degree.
yeah,
It
or
sucks.
yeah, it does. Express your emotions when you're alone and have the space to do that.
Yeah.
Until then, use your brain.
You want to be a part of the conversation? Bring some civility to it. I know. I'm trying to say things without saying things. Also, him, like, Dorian pulling the coldness around his heart, it kind of reminded me of, like, Selena not getting warmth into her body, like how her own
Mm,
flame had been kindled
yeah,
and stuff. Or not kindled,
yeah.
suppressed.
Snuffed out.
That's the one. With Adian and the rebels now, because we keep hopping POVs, Adian is the only one of them speaking sense. And we mentioned this earlier. Quote, but others might not be so easily convinced. She has 10 years to account for and a kingdom in ruin. She was a child. She is a woman now. She has been for a few years.
A
I
few
don't.
3? 3
When
years ago, she was what, 15? 16?
16. Again, is it when you get your period? Like, when your balls drop, are you suddenly a man? Like, what the fuck is this? Women are expected to exist when they're young and act older in their younger ages. It's the same way that predators justify their actions when they're so mature for their age. That's what they tell the girls that they're
Mhm.
trying to groom, right? So it's the
Yep.
same thing where it's like it's teenage boys, boys will be boys. Teen girls, they're
Mhm.
more mature for their age.
You could have a 25-year-old and people would still say, "Boys will be boys."
Absolutely. It never ends. And then women are expected to be the ones who are constantly, you're supposed to be the mature one. No,
Yep.
I challenge that.
Oh, yeah, you do.
Oh, thank you.
Adian is the only, like, one with a logical brain, and it's unfortunate that he acts out in Kingdom of Ash, and that's what people focus on because he's actually probably among the most mature characters, I think, for a while, at least at this point in the series. Adian, let's also remember he's a general, he's the Northern Wolf, he leads the Bane, and all he wants to do is submit himself to Aelin. He was meant to make the blood oath to Aelin, and Ren, his rebel in arms, is a little bit jealous because he did not qualify for that. And Adian thinks about, quote, the oath of pure submission, the oath that would have sealed Adian as Aelin's lifelong protector. Everything he possessed, everything he was, should have belonged to her.
Oh my God. Just come already. Fucking hell.
What I like about this is it subverts our expectations. This big, strong man who leads a bunch of warriors wants to be the submissive one in the relationship.
Mm.
Not what we expect of him. That's why I kind of like him.
You like a submissive man.
I think I do.
If you ever dabbled, I think it would have to be a very submissive man.
It really would. It really would.
Now that I'm thinking about it, there's something about, these two men who are just horny to make a blood oath for her. Meanwhile, Rowan literally spit out her blood earlier in this episode.
Good point.
Thank you. There's also something about Adian using Selena's image in a way and feelings to prove his own point when he talks to the rebels. Quote, when she returns, Adian said quietly, what she will do to the king of Adarlan will make the slaughtering 10 years ago look merciful. And in his heart, Adian hoped he spoke true. He's seeking her to be bloody and vengeful. And yes, he's not wrong, but these are definitely male qualities that he's hoping on her. But I guess he does know that she's an assassin. So that's fair.
But it also makes sense because he wants to be the submissive one in that relationship. He wants to take on the female
He
qualities.
wants her to be a little daddy dom.
Yeah,
He's like,
that's exactly right.
he wants her to put on Taylor Swift's father figure and George Michael's father figure, and so that he can dance around for her a la baby girl.
Take a sip. We are in chapter 25, and we're back in Selena's point of view. And Selena is feeling like no news is good news. Quote, a week passed without any further attempts to skin Selena alive, so even though she made absolutely no progress with Rowan, she considered it a success. She's just happy to be alive at this point. And you know what? That feels like an attitude improvement on her part. But that doesn't mean she's made peace with her power. Quote, but the memory of what the magic had felt like as it seared out of her when it threatened to swallow her and the whole world plagued her, waking and asleep. She is still submissive to her power. She's unable to control it or own it. Selena asks Rowan a rude question, also during this montage, quote, do you feel old? His gaze was unflinching. A child, a girl he'd called her. She was a girl to him. Even when she became an old woman, if she lived that long, she'd still be a child in comparison to his lifespan. I wish you could see my face. She recognizes
Yeah.
She recognizes her childlikeness in his eyes. He views her as a child.
Look, this is something that I've also had to unpack as someone who keeps dating men that are older. And there is something where it's fun to be like, I'm just a little one, you know? And there is something, I don't know why we put such value and specialness behind the youth when if we've been fortunate enough to age, we have all been part of the youth. And I don't know what it is about it where there's just some kind of like sexiness that we as society have placed on it where it's like, she's just a girl and he's this big 200-year-old man. And I just feel like more people should dabble the other way. More women should date younger men.
I was just going to say, don't you feel empowered? Don't you feel like the strongest version of yourself with a younger man?
How would I know? What? I don't know. Yes. Okay. So we start to get a lot more heavy-handed with the stag imagery. It's going to be an interesting season. I
Yeah,
can
yeah,
tell
it
you that for
is.
sure. We start to get a lot more heavy-handed imagery when it comes to stags. Quote, as she dusted the block off, an image emerged of a stag with a glowing star between its antlers, so like the one in Terracin. She'd heard Emery tell the stories of the sun stags, who held an immortal flame between their massive antlers and who had once been stolen from a temple in its land. It's getting into that significance, into the lore, into the stag imagery and what it means. You have the fire, the flame between the antlers. Like, this is just more doubling down why Aelin is the queen of Terracin as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And just in case you didn't get it the first time, it continues towards the end of the scene, quote, so she moved away from the carving of the mythical stag, instantly cold as she severed contact with the delightful heat living within the stone. Part of her could have sworn that ancient, strange power was sad to see her go. If laying it on thick was butter on bread, it would be the kind of butter I would want. I don't
Oh,
know.
yeah. Yeah. Hey, sidebar with me here for a second. There's this new cheese place in Beverly Hills that I started following on Instagram, and they have,
Mhm.
like, what they claim to be the best butter in the world, which, like, okay, win me over, and it's from Normandy, France, and it is, like, the consistency is thick, like, you are cutting it off like a slice of cheese, and, like, almost like those, like,
Yeah.
thicker
No,
slices.
I know. I
It's
know.
good. It's and then what they'll do is they'll get, like, a warm baguette, and they just, like, throw it on top and give it to you. So
That
when we
sounds
come back from everything when we
yeah.
come back from everything, do we wanna do that?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Do you wanna
yeah.
go to Beverly Hills to a fancy cheese shop, buy some fancy cheese and fancy butter,
On a
just
baguette,
on a
yeah.
baguette and just, like, eat it like little gremlins on the side of the Beverly Hills Road?
Pretend we're back in Paris.
That was a good time. We never ate baguettes in public.
We ate it in bed.
Only Yeah, we ate it naked in bed. Not naked together in bed, but naked and under bathrobes together. We're girls, that's what girls do. Actually, it was quite magical of just, like, blasting the AC, wearing our towels, complaining how hot it is, and eating baguettes in bed. It was great.
Hottest summer in France in 100 years.
Yep, good times.
Yeah.
We should go back after we do all of our things. Selena, starting to feel better. She's getting her shit together. Quote, had she really become so unpleasant that a mere smile was surprising? Gods, when has she smiled last at anyone or anything? It is too unreliable of a narrator for me. It's too not self-aware for me. We, in the previous episode, just chapters before this, was doing this whole her being like, I don't want to look at anyone, don't fucking talk to me. And it's happening too quickly. It doesn't have enough self-realization. It's not enough. I get this whole idea. One day the light shone in and things are a little bit easier and brighter, but this is too, you know, this is just too much for me of the like turning around and the unreliable narrator. But like, if I'm going to analyze this, which I'm going to other than just bitch, I think it has to do with saving another person's life. Selena found purpose in helping others. She finds purpose in helping others, particularly in that moment by keeping Rowan alive from those skinwalkers. So I can see where she comes back to life. I can see what it is that does it, but I'm always like, oh, that was a little, suddenly you're forgetting here, Selena.
Yeah, it is a little dismissive of the way that she's been acting in
Yeah.
terms of just like how much self-hatred she's had, how isolated she knows she's made herself. Again, I do think it also goes back to the fact that it was her connection to Rowan, despite it being a terrible connection, that ultimately saved her. Like, she had to save herself, but he saved her first.
Yep.
And it's also his willingness to connect with her. And I think she's like, wow, if the worst person in the world is willing to be vulnerable with me, maybe life isn't terrible.
And I agree. I think it's the quote of, had she really become so unpleasant that a mere smile was surprising. That is
Yeah.
the, like, you have really lost you've lost what you just were talking about a few chapters ago.
Yes, it feels like then more editing was needed. As the conversation progresses, Rowan tells Selena it's because of how you smell. People can smell that you don't want to talk to them. And she says, quote, they stayed away because I smell. She didn't think she would have cared enough to be embarrassed, but her face was burning. Okay, just like when they were running for their lives and Rowan got really close and she couldn't breathe. She's only feeling this way because it's Rowan she's talking to. And she's
Mhm.
like, oh no, does he smell me? Do I smell like an outside person?
I hate it. I was thinking outside person the whole time, and honestly, people should stay away from you.
Again, SJM is doing the thing, but is the thing working?
Another thing that SJM is doing is oh, right, Selena misses Kale. So at this point, Rowan's like, hey, when you're a queen, you're going to have to do like a political marriage situation. And Selena thinks, quote, the thought of marrying like that, of someone else's body on hers, someone who is not Kale. She shoved the thought away. It seems that there is more of an ownership when it comes to sex, which I get. Like, she's only slept with one person. The idea of another letting someone literally in again, like that again, is scary. It's intimidating. And it does show that she's not there yet
Mm-hmm.
in the release and letting go or moving forward. Selena's and Rowan's relationship, though, is supposed to be more chill now. But I ask you, where is the flight path? Why did I write that? I was so tired when I wrote this. Where's the flight path? I actually like it. Quote, you get baited by me every now and then too, you know. He gave her a look that said, I let you bait me in case you haven't noticed. I'm not some mortal fool. So they're doing one of their, online online brain conversations. But was he not baited when he punched her?
Oh yeah, he was definitely baited when he
Yeah,
punched her.
but it's just kind of funny where it's like, oh, I let you bait me. I let you make me want to punch you. So
You
he's
just
healing too, is like what we're seeing this,
yeah,
right? They're having
yeah.
their online brain banter, they're having their connection. It's progressing. Rowan and Selena are viewing a body at this point, and they're trying to figure out how this woman died, and it's kind of like a buddy cop. Quote, so you tell me, assassin, you wanted to be useful. This is so similar to the previous buddy cop movie, which is book 1, when Selena and Kale were trying to look into one of the champions' murder.
Mhm.
And it's just, it's good. I actually really appreciate that. It's good mirroring if that's what SJM was doing on purpose.
I've seen this film before.
Yeah. And I didn't like the ending. A lot of people do like the ending of the two of them together, but I can't remember it. That's my wife. My wife. No, we're not giving any context to that. Because I don't want anyone to know what I'm referencing.
Yeah.
In case anyone hasn't done anything. Anyway, I like subtle context clues that the author gives you. I think that it's better for writing, for me personally, because Selena tells Rowan, quote, there were times when I left bodies so that they can be found by a certain person or to send a type of message. That's the hesitation. She's comparing herself to a killer. these are the certain type, like, you don't need to talk to me about what Selena is thinking when you're telling me that, like, she stutters and then she starts to compare herself to this murder. So
Mm-hmm.
that's all. Good job.
Yeah. Selena at this point starts to talk about the thing in the barrows that she had seen and what it did to her. And Rowan observes that at the time, quote, your skin was a shade paler, your freckles gone. Okay, so this screams another attempt at showing attraction. Doesn't work for me, but let me tell you why. Whenever you're in the man's POV in a romance novel, he always sees / notices the freckles on the romantic lead's face. Rowan has noticed her freckles.
Yeah.
He's never said it before.
Yep.
That's intimate from a writing perspective. And it sticks out to me because I think it's intentional, because SJM could have left it at you were pale.
Yeah. No,
You were
absolutely.
you were ghostly white.
I also think whenever people mention freckles, it's unfortunate for other girls who
Who
have
don't
moles.
have yeah, me
I was
too.
going to say moles. I got a lot of moles.
I have so many moles.
You've seen what my back does. It's a
You know what?
dermatologist's heyday.
At least it's moles and not I see your pores.
It's true.
I have really big
True. I mean,
pores.
you
I think
saw
about
that.
that all the
You
time.
saw the giant I walked into the gym with. I actually really like this mole, the one underneath my eye.
It's a beauty mark.
Thank you. All moles are beauty marks.
But they're like the one closer to your mouth is more considered a beauty mark than like one over here.
Do I have one closer to my what?
On the
What's
other
the one
side.
over here?
Other side. Down. Over. No.
I have one.
Go
Hold on.
corner of your mouth. Go to the corner of your mouth. And then go to the
that one.
side.
Uh-huh. Have you been counting the freckles on my face?
Maybe.
Oh my god, okay. There's something very beautiful about Selena trying to get her spark back, though. Alright, she's trying to get her spark back, but, like, you know, a spark is a little bit of a flame, an ember set spark of fire. What the fuck? I was so tired when I wrote that note, and I think I just spent, like, a whole sentence saying, "Flame is a spark is an ember, a spark is a fire." I don't know what that note is, so let me read the quote. What was I writing?
I don't know. When I read it, I'm like, I really hope she knows.
I don't know. And I texted you being like, "It only took me 40 minutes to do my notes," and it shows. It shows. Quote. So she couldn't help her sad little fire burn more evenly, more proudly. Yeah, I think it's kind of like there's beauty in it where she knows that she could have done better. And it's not the fact that she wants to, again, do something for herself, but for this woman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. She wanted to use her fire for good.
Because spark is fire, fire, flame.
And flame is an ember.
Or an ember. Or an ember. Okay, I'm going to just read my sentence. Okay, Selena is trying to get her spark back, getting a little bit of flames, but also knowing that a flame is a spark or an ember spark to fire.
But also, flame was previously spelled to slame.
Flame. That is flame.
I was like, slime.
Spark is flame. Flame is ember. Ember fire.
Spark to fire.
Spark to fire.
Okay, last note before we move on. Whew. There is something that I think is meant to be sensual about Rowan's wind interacting with and helping Selena's man-made fire. And I just have to point it out because, again, SJM's doing the thing, and I just don't feel it.
No.
Quote, instead, as she stepped from the rising flames, she felt him come to tower behind her, felt the surety and half-wildness of him wrap around her like a phantom body. A warm breeze licked at her hair, her face, air to help the fire, wind that helped consume the corpse. Like, his presence is enveloping her like a body?
Yeah. Yeah.
And licking her face?
Yeah.
Okay.
No. I don't think I want anyone to lick my face. No. Not my face. So, like last week, our breadcrumbs and broomsticks segment, because it's so spoilery in nature, is going to air in a separate episode on Thursday. This is also where we're going to discuss listener thoughts and interpretations we've collected from your emails, DMs, and answers to our prompts on Instagram. But until then, let's dive right into our question of the week.
Jacqueline, why are none of the characters honest with themselves or with each other?
I actually feel like I have a good answer to this that just popped in my head.
Love it.
Because SJM doesn't have enough time to develop her characters, and lack of honesty is one of the fastest, cheapest ways to build personal conflict.
Yeah. I mean, this is what I would. You know how people get upset about the use of the miscommunication trope?
Yeah.
Sometimes that's just because people are human
Mhm.
and
People
don't communicate well.
Yeah.
This is deliberate
Yeah.
lack of communication on the part of the author.
Yep.
It's not because they're human, it's because the author doesn't have time.
Yeah.
From our point of view.
And I don't mean to say that it's cheap, because I said it was cheap. And I don't mean it / maybe I do, because it can be used really well. When someone's not being honest with themselves, I think it can be used well. I think it's one of the most frustrating things because it's a form of miscommunication, but to themselves, where the reader is just sitting there being like, what the fuck are you doing? Now, the reason why it's easy, and I kind of think I don't want to call it cheap because I don't want to say that and then use it later, but it doesn't require certain levels of work, right?
Yeah.
You don't have to get into other dilemmas. You don't have to get into them thinking about these complicated things if they're lying to themselves. You also don't have to worry about other dynamics or other points of tension, because if they're busy lying to themselves, then they're lying to everyone else, essentially. Like, almost everything can be solved and fixed if the characters are just honest with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying that every character needs to be honest with themselves. I'm just saying that when that's the only point of conflict, it's because you don't have enough time to develop everything.
Yeah, because at this point, Selena's lying to herself.
Yeah.
About everything. I mean, the only one I like lying to themselves is Manon because
Agreed.
it's entertaining.
Yeah. Go ahead.
We know in the best way that
Yes.
she's lying to herself, but she still acts authentically.
I think Manon's a good example of when this concept is done right.
Yeah.
Because it's showing her character, like, where she is lying to herself, but her actions are not lying to herself, right?
Exactly.
Her brain is saying, I don't care. Her actions absolutely care.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you do that with everyone else, right? Like Selena lying to herself, but then her actions are also lying to herself. And it's just kind of easier and kind of a cop out. Not really. It's just, you don't have to work too hard when you make your characters stupid.
Yeah. I have
And
nothing to add.
not being self-aware.
Yeah.
And I know SJM has it more in her because ACOTAR was written around the same time as this.
Mm-hmm.
And talk about a character who constantly lies to herself, who is extremely not self-aware, and that is so thoroughly explored, it carries the whole book.
Yep. Ugh, it's just so good. I want to go back and read ACOTAR.
You know what's funny
None
is
of
that
the other
after
books.
we did that, you said, I never want to, you're like, not never. I remember after we did it the first season, you were like, and I felt the same way. You're like, it's going to be a long time till I can read ACOTAR again. And it's coming. The time's finally coming.
The time is finally coming. I never need to read any of the other books again, but I do want to read the first book again.
Do you know what this month was? The 4-year anniversary of the brainchild of BookTok for BookTok.
Yep, you are right.
We didn't air until March, but
we started
the October before and started planning and doing all the stuff beforehand. Oh, all right, let's sign off. Because we're about to sign off, but personally keep recording for Thursday's episode, which is just us keep talking. Anyway, thanks for listening to Book Talk for Book Talk with Jack and Amy. Join us Thursday for our breadcrumbs and broomsticks discussion of today's chapters.
If you're enjoying the show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps other readers find us. And of course, we'd love to hear what you thought of today's episode. Share your comments through our forum at booktalkforbooktalk.com, and we might feature your feedback in a future mini episode or Patreon exclusive episode.
For merch and more ways to support the show, head to booktalkforbooktalk.com. You can also follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube at the handle BookTalk4BookTalk. And don't forget to join us by subscribing to the subtextsocietyjournal.substack.com to get more insights into the romantasy and romance world. Bye.
Bye.